the diversity of sexual behavior. Like food, sex is an important part of our lives, admit it or not. From an evolutionary perspective, the reason is obvious. Perpetuation of the species, procreation. Diba? Sexual behavior in humans, however, involves much more than reproduction. It goes beyond. That is why we will be talking about sexual orientations and gender identity this afternoon. But first, let's try to define sexual orientation. Now, sexual orientation, class, is defined as an individual's general sexual disposition towards partners of the same sex, the opposite sex, or both sexes. There has been much interest in sexual desire as an index of sexual orientation, because historically, the most important indicator of same sex, okay, that is gay, lesbian, or bisexual orientation, was same sex sexual desire, because it was deemed as yung important indicator of identifying yourself is yung sexual desire mo towards kapwa babae, kapwa lalaki, or opposite sex. Okay? Yet, contemporary scientific studies, however, found that same-sex desire and sexual orientation are more complicated than previously thought. Now, let's try to dig in further. Past studies thought that gay, lesbian, and bisexual individuals were the only people who ever experienced same-sex sexual desires. Okay? Ano kaya nangyari? It was found, though, that completely heterosexual persons periodically experience same sexual desires as well, even if they have little motivation to act on those desires. So, hindi lang yung mga lesbian, gay, and bisexual na nakakaranas ng sexual desire towards of the same sex, but also heterosexual people. But iilan lang sa kanila ang nag-act on it, or yung may motivation to act on those desires. That is why if you have known a lot of friends or people na straight but still may mga girl crush, boy crush, ba? So, may mga ganun pa rin mga pangyayari. But again, it is more on the intensity of the attraction or yung motivation. Kung mag-act sila dun sa desire nila or not. Okay, that is the case for straight people. Okay, hindi yan yun yung case ng mga nag-identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual. It also did not appear to indicate that a completely heterosexual individual will eventually want to pursue same-sex sexual behavior or will eventually consider himself or herself lesbian, gay, or bisexual, since may mga straight people, okay, straight guys, straight girls, or straight women na medyo curious to having a partner of the same sex. Kaya may mga taong bi-curious. Okay, gusto mag-experiment lang muna. Okay, to test the waters. Umaga. May mga ganong instances. But then again, let's try not to put a label on it pa. Okay? Thus, researchers now generally believe that lesbian, gay, and bisexual orientations are characterized by persistent and intense. Okay, please note that, guys. Persistent and intense experiences of same-sex desire that are stable over time. Pretty much stable over time. Hindi siya pabago-bago. Okay? If you have known someone na medyo unstable pa, okay? Hindi pa niya alam kung saan ba talaga or kanino siya attracted. If sa girl ba, sa guy ba. Okay? Maybe, nagde-develop pa lang yung sexual orientation niya. Okay? Or hindi pa siya masyadong sure sa gender identity niya. Now, we'll try to explore now gender identity. Ano naman yung gender identity? So first, again, sexual orientation is a person's emotional and erotic attraction toward another individual. Okay, kanino ka attracted? Now, a person's sexual identity in relation to the gender to which they are attracted. So sexual orientation refers to being heterosexual, being straight, meaning you're attracted to the opposite sex. Homosexual, you are attracted to of the same sex. Or bisexual, you are attracted to both sexes, men or women, okay? Equally attracted. Well, the gender identity refers to one's sense of being male or female, okay? Refers to one's sense, yung experience of being male and female. A person's perception of having a particular gender, okay, that's gender identity, which may or may not correspond with their birth sex. Kasi guys, initially, gender identity refers to one's sense of being male or female, yung experience mo, okay, yung sa puso mo na babae ka or lalaki ka. Generally, our gender identities correspond to our chromosomal and phenotypic sex. But that is not always the case. Kasi nga, hindi siya parate nasusunod. Hindi siya parate naka-align sa kung ano yung sex assigned at birth. Okay. May mga taong sex assigned at birth, female. Okay? But yung gender identity nila or yung experience nila, hindi naka-align doon sa sex at birth. For example, female. Okay? Sex assigned at birth, female, but gender identity nila, okay, yung experience nila is hindi naka-align dun sa pagiging female. Okay? Yung iba, male. Kaya that is why if you have encountered transgender people, they will explain na para silang nakakulong, diba, sa katawan na hindi naman nila ginusto, kumbaga. Okay, so, ganun. So, we'll try to dig in more. To make it simpler, gender identity is not the same as sexual orientation. Okay? Why do we have this kind of lecture, guys? Because we are all aware of these kinds of things, di ba? Na may LGBTQIA+, na may Pride March, okay? May mga bakla, may mga tomboy and whatnot. Okay? We are all aware of this. But we are not properly educated. That is why prone pa rin tayo sa pagja-judge sa kanila. Okay? Meron pa rin mga prejudice, kumbaga, and discrimination towards them because we are aware that they exist, but we are not properly educated about them. That is why we are having this kind of discussion today. So to make it simpler, gender identity is not the same as sexual orientation. Why? Because gender identity is who you are. Okay? Ano yung pag-experience mo being female or male? Okay? While sexual orientation is who you love. Kanino ka nagkakagusto? Ano yung chosen partner mo? Is it your kapwa babae, your kapwa lalaki, or opposite sex? Again, guys, gender identity is who you are. Okay? And sexual orientation is who you love. Don't forget that. So let's try to explore what is LGBTQIA+ or LGBTQ+. Now, LGBTQ+ is an umbrella term for a wide spectrum of gender identities, sexual orientations, and romantic orientations. Let's try to explore the first letter, L. L stands for lesbian. You may have a friend who is lesbian, a friend who has a friend na lesbian, a sister perhaps who is a lesbian. Yeah. Now, lesbians, these are females. Okay? These are females who are exclusively attracted to women. Okay? So, baka magtatanong kayo, so ma'am, anong kaibahan ng transgender at lesbian? Okay, we will differentiate them later. Pero dito muna guys, C, lesbian. Okay? L stands for lesbian. Alam nila na babae sila. Okay? Babae sila. Okay? Yung sex at birth, alam nilang babae sila. But they are exclusively attracted to women. Alam nilang babae sila, pero they are attracted to of the same sex or kapwa babae nila. Yan si letter L. Si lesbian. Now, ano naman si G? Okay? G stands for gay. This refers to the males, okay? Yung sex at birth male, who are exclusively attracted to any other males. It can also refer to anyone who is attracted to his or her same sex or gender. Because if mapapansin nyo, si gay and lesbian, some lesbian would call themselves as gay. Kasi pwede halos same lang sila ng connotation, kumbaga. Okay? But here, G stands for gay. These are males, okay? Alam nila lalaki sila, and yet, nagkakagusto sila sa kapwa nila lalaki. Okay? So, yan. Exclusively attracted to any other males. That's letter G. So, let's try to further explore. Letter B, LGBT. Okay, LGB. So, B stands for bisexual. What do we mean by bisexual? So, bi, di ba? Someone is sexually or romantically and equally attracted to both men and women. So, if you are a woman, if you identify as bisexual, you are equally attracted to men and women. Okay? So, for example, Bella Thorne, who came out as bisexual last 2016 or 2018. Then Miley Cyrus, who is also a bisexual or a pansexual. So later we'll dig in further. Now T, okay, after B, have the T. T stands for transgender, denoting or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity and gender does not correspond with their birth sex. Or transgender is an umbrella term for people who do not identify with the gender assigned to them at birth. Okay. So, bakit kaya? So, for example, guys, trans woman is an identity label adapted by male to female trans people to signify that they identify themselves as women. While si trans man naman is an identity label adapted by female, okay, female, yan yung sex at birth, yung pagpanganak sa kanila, to man, trans people, to signify that they identify themselves as men. Now, ma'am, what do we mean by transgender ba? Pag nakakita ba kayo ng isang tao na nung pagkakilala niyo sa kanila was lalaki dati, tas nag-cross-dress, automatic ba transgender na kagad? Hindi. Okay? So, if ever may kakilala kayo na babae dati, okay, female sex at birth babae, pero ngayon, kita nyo, naka-skinhead na lalaki na talaga manamit, automatic ba trans woman, or trans man na kagad? Or gay lang? So, saan ba nagmamatter? Ano ba ang indicator, ma'am? Paano ba namin madidifferentiate na ang taong ito is transgender or gay lang siya or lesbian siya? Here. What do we have, or the most important thing to know is that si transgender, ang pagiging transgender, guys, is that may incongruence, okay? Imbalance, kumbaga. May misalignment. So, pag sinabi na yung taong ito is nag-identify as transgender, meaning, may misalignment, okay? May misalignment sa nararamdaman nila at sa kung ano yung nakikita nila sa sarili nila. So, physically, okay? That is why most transgender people desire and even go through or undergo to undergo through medical transition. So for example, sex at birth, female, but identify as male. So trans man. Okay, so trans man. So yung mga trans man, female sex at birth, okay? But later on, may misalignment na feel nila na yung nararamdaman nila is lalaki sila. Okay? They feel trapped in a woman's body. Okay? That is why gusto nila magkaroon ng alignment. Gusto nila magkaisa kung ano yung nakikita nila sa sarili nila at kung ano yung nararamdaman nila. That is why most of trans man would undergo medical transition like surgeries. Okay? Most of them also undergo hormone replacement therapies, yung pag-i-inject ng testosterone. Okay. That is why makita nyo mga famous trans man like Clark, okay, you can look it up on YouTube, nag-undergo siya ng HRT or hormone replacement therapy, yung pag-i-inject ng testosterone sa body, wherein you have to first consult sa endocrinologist about that. Nagpapa-inject sila ng testosterone kasi yung testosterone, yung effects niya would be yung mga secondary characteristics or traits ng pagiging lalaki. Okay? Yung mga benefits sa katawan pag in-inject yung testosterone. For example, facial hair. So, nagkakaroon ng facial hair yung nag-i-inject ng testosterone. Nagkakaroon sila ng beard. Yung muscle nila mas na-form. Okay. Then, yung pawis nila, so mas medyo lumalaki yung pores in a way na magko-coincide sa mga pores ng mga lalaki. Then, yung voice, yun talaga ang pinaka-notable na changes sa voice. So, pag nag-inject kayo ng T, okay, for those transgender people, particularly trans man, una mapapansin, nagdi-deep yung voice nila. So, mas nagiging masculine, kumbaga. Then, yung facial structure, mas lumalapad and mas medyo nagkaka-cheeks and muscles. Okay? For those trans women naman, yung iba, again, surgery, okay, for penis to vagina and pag-inject and pagpipills sa pag-develop ng breasts. Okay? Doon naman sa trans woman, may ni-inject sila na female hormones. Tapos, yung mga isa sa mga benefits would be yung nag-minimize yung growth ng facial hair nila. Okay? So, yun. Kasi nga, guys, ginagawa nila yun because they want to align. Okay? Gusto nila, isa yung magkaisa ba? Okay? Mag-align yung kung ano yung nararamdaman nila sa puso nila at sa kung ano yung nakikita nila pag tumitingin sila sa salamin. Okay? Ganun lang siya kasimple. Okay? That is why we have to understand these people. Okay? Yun na lang man talaga. We have to respect, okay? We have to respect kung ano yung mga decisions nila in life. Okay? No more hate. Okay? Try not to hate them. Okay? Yeah. And also the famous one. So, if ever guys, medyo yung iba naguguluhan, may mga friends kayo naguguluhan, try to ask them. Okay? Ano ba, ikaw ba yung taong hindi in line yung nararamdaman mo, or you are just simply attracted to the same sex? Diba? So, ganun. Now, the other letter stands for Q, LGBTQ, okay? Q stands for queer. Okay, some conceptual definition of queer is peculiar, diba? So here, Q stands for queer. It is a useful term for those who are questioning their identities, okay? And are unsure about using more specific terms. Now, Q, yung iba, again, may mga same-sex desires pa rin sila, but as much as possible, ayaw pa nilang mag-identify as being gay, as being bisexual, or pansexual. Gusto nila yung, or hindi, ayaw nila ng mas specific term. Gusto nila mas general. That is why they would try to identify themselves as queer. And for those people na still nandun pa rin sila sa pag-question kung ano ba talaga yung specific nilang sexual orientation. Okay? Specific nilang gusto. Kumbaga. Okay? Those are queer. Then, the symbol plus, LGBTQ plus or LGBTQIA plus refers to, dati, yung hindi pa kasali yung QIA, yung IA, nandun pa lang siya sa plus, LGBTQ plus. Okay? I, that means intersex. Okay? Now, again, the plus, guys, this includes, okay, intersex, but, okay, not limited to intersex and asexual only. Okay? Now, intersex are people who are born with a mix of male and female biological traits that can make it hard for doctors to assign them a male or female sex. Meaning, pagpanganak pa lang sa kanila, may dalawang ari na sila. Babae and panlalaking reproductive system. Okay? Those are intersex. And they exist, guys. Okay? Second one is asexual. Now, asexual, part pa rin yan siya ng LGBTQIA+. Okay? Wherein, asexual, ang isang tao, wherein, itong tao na to is not interested or does not desire sexual activity. Sounds weird? Yes, guys, it does exist. Okay? Asexual people exist. Okay? These people, they do not wish, they abhor, not really abhor, but hindi talaga sila interesado sa pag-engage ng dating. Hindi sila interesado sa sexual activity. Wala silang sexual desire towards a particular person, a particular gender. Okay? But then again, we have to remember that C plus as a symbol, it does not end with intersex and asexual. Kasi may pansexual pa. Okay, so ano yung pansexual na nasabi ni ma'am kanina? Pansexual, ang sexual orientation wherein you are a person who is attracted to lesbian, gay, bisexual, or any other kinds of people. Okay, regardless of their gender and sex. Kaya nga, yung iba sa kanila, tinatawag silang gender blind. Kasi for them, hindi determining factor ang gender and sex ng tao para mahalin. Okay? Para sa kanila, gender is so fluid na ang importante lang is magkasundo kami, okay? Nagkakaintindihan kami at masaya kami. Ganyan si pansexual. Okay? It does not, or pansexual people don't really care if anong gender or sex mo. Okay? So, regardless of how sexual orientation is determined, there is preliminary empirical research that strongly suggests sexual orientation is not a choice. Okay? It is not a choice. Rather, it is a relatively stable characteristic of a person that cannot be changed. It is not something na pumasok ka lang sa ganitong camp, okay? Pumasok kang bakla or attracted ka to of the same sex, paglabas mo straight ka na. Walang ganon. Okay? It is pretty much stable over time. So just as the majority of the heterosexual people do not choose to be attracted to the opposite sex, the large majority of the LGBTQ plus people also do not choose theirs. Okay, so I know some of us are really religious people, okay, but I am not imposing my belief here, okay, as a person, as an educator, okay, as a mental health advocate, since I am a psychology major, but let's try to widen our horizons. Okay, let's try to understand them more. Okay, So the only real choice that the LGBTQ plus community has to deal with is to whether to be open about their orientation or not. Okay. So for questions and clarifications, guys, feel free to message me, leave a message via LMS.